I've had social anxiety for pretty much all my life, right? Here's how it affected me, and here's my little tips on how I made it feel better, how I was able to use it better, right? Let's hop into it. So, social anxiety for me is just it's a funny thing, you know, knowing that I can't speak to people, or not. It's not really that I can't speak to people, but it's more the fact that I was always afraid of people, afraid of what people thought of me, afraid of the way I portrayed myself to people. And obviously at the time, it paralyzed me. It really paralyzed me. It got to the point where even my sister can attest to this, right? I would tremble if I had to go to the mall. If I had a thought or an idea like, oh shit, I'm about to go to the mall, I would tremble. And that shit would paralyze me because now I'm very shaken, very scared, very paralyzed of what people are going to think of me, right? I guess the best thing I used to combat that in that moment was obviously to think that no one really cares about me. Everybody's just doing their own things, you know? Why must I focus on, oh, I think I have a pimple on? Like back then I had like bad acne, so whenever there was a pretty girl or something like that, I would always be like, oh fuck, I have a pimple and I'm out in public and this and that. Imagine having social anxiety and overthinking at the same time. That is the worst combination ever, right? I know some of you guys can probably relate to that, right? The best way is exposure therapy, right? The more you get to hang with people, right? The more you get to deal with people, the more you grow, the more you understand how people work, the less you actually care about like, oh, this person thinking about me, this one is doing this, right? So obviously I haven't said it because I don't know, I thought it was maybe a privacy issue or whatever, but my first job was at Deloitte, right? I worked at Deloitte, and I worked obviously as an IT technician at the time. So part of the job was, fixing computers, rotating them, changing the old ones to the new ones, and the other half of the job was literally sitting in the front desk. And I tell you, I was fucking scared. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was fucking scared. I think the first few days, because I was there for 2 years, right? In the split of 6 months each. Right, it was a contracted job, so it's not really like anything long. And I was scared, bro. Listening to what people say and having to take it back inside and telling the bigger technicians what to do, or if there's complaints or anything like that. And I think the more I got exposed to that, the more I became comfortable, the more I was able to articulate my words and be like, hi ma'am, how you doing? Hi sir, how you doing? How can I help you with? I think that would be the first step, is getting exposure. Start speaking to people, right? I've also mentioned this in other videos. Back in the day, I used to do pickup artistry also. I used to approach women at malls, tell them they look beautiful. I remember that there was also this funny story, right? It was during the peak of pickup artistry, right? I think I was at the mall and I was with two of my other like coaches or friends at the time, right? And we had to do push-ups in the middle of the mall. But it's part of the exercise to get out of that comfort zone, get out of that fear of, you don't have to worry about what people will think of you. So you do push-ups in the middle of the mall. And I remember there was an exercise where we howled like monkeys. That shit was crazy. But it helped a lot. You start framing your mind that like, we're all people at the end of the day. We do stupid stuff, we don't do stupid stuff. Obviously, please don't disturb the peace of people at the malls and do stupid pranks or whatever. But I'm just saying, get exposure in that way. Get used to being open for doing new things. Be okay with approaching people, Most people don't bite, Most people don't bite. Most people are okay. It doesn't even have to be about girls, Whether you're male or female or whatever you identify by, right? It doesn't have to be like for relationship purposes. Just seeing somebody who has a good fit and complimenting them goes a long way, right? I'm not gonna lie, it still gets me to the state, like the whole social anxiety and having that fear of what people will think and going to malls and stuff like that. But obviously, for my case, I still have that because I've been home for 4 years straight. I haven't exposed myself to people on a regular basis, right? So obviously, for people who are in a similar situation and they isolated, find some time to get out there, right? People would say, hey, you can make friends online, but to me personally, I think getting to meet human beings is a much better experience than on a phone with a name and, just a bunch of code. You're talking to like a code. You're talking to nothing essentially. Yes, there's a person on the other side, but when you're looking at it in the present moment, it's like it's nobody. Whether you're talking to your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it feels like nothing. You don't feel that true connection. That's why, like, certain things, especially with relationships or friends, is so much better experienced in person. Another thing about social anxiety that fucked me up a lot was you miss a lot of experiences because of social anxiety. Times where you don't want to go out to specific places because there's going to be people there. You don't want to go to parties because people are going to be there. And look, to people that generally don't like parties, I also don't like parties, but there's times where, like, if you want to switch things up a bit, you go to a party, you enjoy, you experience the new environment, and you meet new people while you're at it, and you also have good times with your friends. So it's not a bad thing. But social anxiety can really rip you from, like, the experience that you can actually experience. And sometimes, whenever we do miss out on that, we have this extreme guilt. Fuck, I wish I actually went there. Seeing it on your friends' stories, seeing posts about it, and people are having fun, right? Another thing that I would do in that case is start learning to go out by myself, right? Going out by myself, I think, was also a very scary experience. Imagine going out to a mall or to the movies or just enjoying your own personal time by yourself. It's the scariest experience. Really, it is the scariest experience because you're alone and there's people with people. I'm not saying be a loner, but I'm just saying, like, enjoy your own personal space at some point before you invite people. Make sure you know yourself, you love yourself, and then once you have people, you enjoy that experience even more. And that way also you don't also judge people who seem to be alone and like, oh, that's a loner, that's a weirdo. Hey, some people just love to spend time by themselves. So that's what I'm saying, like, that's a very good thing to do, to experience that type of oneness, if that makes sense. You grow, you become comfortable with being in an uncomfortable state. Social anxiety is just literally worrying about what other people think. I think at the crux of it, in my opinion, it's literally just worrying about what other people will think about you, what you're wearing, the type of clothes you have, how you feel you're gonna present yourself. Self-confidence plays a part also in that. All right. Maybe these things came from somebody telling you that you're not worthy. Maybe people laughed at the way you speak. Maybe it was because you were always seen as a loner, right? Right. One experience became another experience, and now you became more scared to even portray yourself in the real world. Don't let those things stop you. Don't let those things hold you back. All right? Everybody doesn't really care about anything. Everybody's just doing their own thing at the end of the day. But it's so much better when you have this confidence about yourself, when you have this edge, to just talk to anybody. Even if you are an introvert, but you just know how to articulate your words properly, you know how to chat with people, you know how to start conversations. It doesn't even have to be for anything like sexual, relationship-wise, just in general. It's important. But I know some of us, especially the anxious type, us overthinkers, it gets to us. It gets to us. We tend to get paralyzed by those thoughts. But just remember, at the end of the day, everybody's out for themselves. No one really cares. So why do you care? You just live and do your own thing. So what if you have a fit that looks a bit extravagant, a little old? You might set a new trend. You know, what if your hair's kind of crazy? You might set a trend also. Doesn't really matter what you do. It's how you carry yourself doing the things you do, you know. You can be suave, you can be cool, you can be all this, but if you don't carry yourself properly, people won't see you the way you want them to see you. You know, they'll actually see you they'll see you in the way you fear of them seeing you as, if that makes sense. So if you fear that people don't see you as weird, you're gonna in turn show these kind of weird characteristics. I know. I remember like whenever I would go out to malls and stuff, I would always be like capped up, make sure the cap is like super low, make sure that no one can see me because of who I was, or I was ashamed of who I was, or I don't look like I've grown, especially because in my area I'm bound to see someone I know. So make sure that you embrace who you are, right? If you still have a problem speaking and articulating your words, practice speaking to yourself, right? I know that it might sound weird, but practice speaking to yourself. Practice doing something like this, even if it's not a YouTube video per se, but it's like just a personal video, daily vlogs or whatever, or daily thoughts. Do something like that. Speak to yourself. Learn to like read something out loud, right? I would also implore that you watch a lot of content that shows a lot of social dynamics. Learn how to carry yourself in the world, you know. Make sure you shoulders back and you just have this bravado about you. Like, think up here that you are well, you carry yourself in a certain way, and it will just exude outwards. But for practical steps, I would say start learning to speak, read some stuff out loud, watch some YouTube videos that show you how personal, like social dynamics work, and get exposure, right? I know some of us hate those jobs where we face to face with people like help desk or like sales or even working in a supermarket, for example. But those jobs can actually be super beneficial for you because you get to see how people are, the bad, the good, and the in-betweens. You know, you learn, try to start a conversation with somebody that you meet at the mall. Hi, how are you doing? How's your day going? You know, strike up a conversation with just anybody and see how it goes from there. Some people might just need that hello. Somebody might be going through and sometimes they just need a compliment to light their day up. You could be that person, right? So, I gave you some practical steps, a little background story of how I used to be socially anxious, right? Obviously, when I get out here, I'll make some content of me in public, even recording in public. I feel like recording in public is also something I still fear, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So I hope this helped. I hope this resonated with you. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more. Peace.